Hello and welcome to Apex Instant Tips episode number 149, brought to you most Fridays at 12:05 Eastern Time. We're your hosts. I'm Anton.
And I'm Marwa. Hi, Anton. How are you today?
Great, thanks. How are you, Marwa?
Great, thank you. So, Anton, recently we've been talking about plugins during our last Instant Tips sessions, and actually, there is a lot to share about plugins. Like today, we have something related to plugins to share.
Yeah, so today we're going to dive into a very specific thing about item plugins. The item plugins have a feature that I didn't know about that I stumbled across recently, and it's just a bit of magic that's provided by the Apex development team when you're doing item plugins. And so I figured I'd show this little piece of magic.
Right, okay. So, even if the functionality could not be that interesting to some developers, but the way that you discovered this piece of magic and how you got to the understanding of that point is so interesting.
Yeah, so we'll do that. We'll cover not just the magic itself, but sort of how I came across it, how I figured out to use this. Um, it really it struck me as I said magical, but I had no idea going into it that I was going to come across this little bit of magic, and so we'll dive right in. I'll share my screen. We'll talk a little bit about the plugin and uh, and this plugin doesn't really do anything. It's just about showing this little magic. And eventually I'll write a blog post about it as well, because I couldn't find anything anywhere about this on the internet, despite a lot of Googling. So I'll go ahead. I'll kick off my timer right away, and we'll show. So I have this little item LOV plugin right here, and the point of it and the point of the name is I had the need to allow users to use a list of values as part of the item plugin that I was building. I wanted them to be able to use a list of values, either a shared component, a static list of values, a SQL query, or a function returning a SQL query. The standard things that you get, when you do a select list, a regular select list in Apex. And item plugins have this great capability where you can come down and you can actually select it has a list of values associated with it. So I said, okay, I'm going to have a list of values. And I'll say it also allows you to put some other help and other things about the list of values. But really, I've got this list of values. So my item plugin type has a list of values. I then went and I put that list of values on a page. So I created a page item and I used the item LOV plugin type. And I put 5 of them out here. Here's one that uses the shared components. If you come down and we look at my list of values, it's a shared component color LOV. I then have a static LOV. This static LOV has red, blue, green, yellow as static items. I have another static LOV that has Anton and Marwa as static items. I have a SQL query. It's a super basic SQL query. It just has A and B from dual. And I have a 5th one that is a function returning. So it returns this. So then the next thing was, how do I use this in my code? Because Apex is somehow going to pass this information to me. It's going to pass to me that it's a shared component, that it's a color LOV. It's going to pass this information to me, but I needed to figure out, how do I get it? How do I use it?
So,
Um,
so this is an attribute of your plugin, which is a list of values, and it's got different types: shared component, SQL query, etc. And now, inside your plugin, you need to access the data, this list of value, in order to
ex-
process it.
Exactly right. And so I know everyone is going to have this render function, and I get past p item. So my guess was that somewhere in this Apex plugin t item, I was going to have access to that information. So I went out, I brought up the help on this. So I went to the API documentation. It's apex.oracle.com/API. I went to Apex plugin. From Apex plugin, I went to data types, and I pull up t underscore item. And I started looking for LOV type, because that's the first thing that I was going to need, LOV type. I can't find it. I can't find LOV type, but I need it because I need to know if it's a shared, what it is. Well, okay, so right away I was a little disappointed I can't find it, but I do find LOV definition and a few other things. So I thought, okay, now I need to see what is the LOV definition? What is passing to me for these different things? So what I did was, the first thing I did was I just came out here and I spit out to the page what is LOV definition. As it turns out, I guess there might also be an LOV type, so I just stuck that in there too. I checked for the shared LOV. I checked for these different things that I thought might be interesting. And so I put that on the page, and now when I run the page, the first thing I saw was LOV type always null. They didn't bother documenting it because it's always null. But
Okay.
this LOV definition is amazing, and this is the magic. It gives me back a query, and no matter what type I picked, the query just works. This is the query for getting, it says get static LOV data, but that's for a shared component. This is if it's a static LOV. This is if it's if it's a query, it gives me the query. If it's a function returning query, it actually evaluates the function and gives me the result. And
Wow.
that's what is so amazing. This right here, and this is crazy. I don't even know how it works. But if you put it in SQL here, it won't do any good at all because it's got to be in the context of the page for it to work. But in the actual plugin, if I go take a look at my plugin again, all I have to do is use Apex exec open query context and pass that definition, and it's going to work. It's going to get a query context. If I take a look at the help for this, it has a bit of sample code. All I did was copy this sample code that lets me loop through it, and I did exactly that. I said, okay, I open the context. Once the context is open, I can hit the next row, and that's it. I'm able to simply run through these and pass them back. It's
Wow.
an amazing piece of magic.
It is, and you don't have to worry about the type of the LOV. You can just use LOV definition and look through data. That's great.
That's it. Well, I thought this one was going to be hundreds of lines of code, and it turns out that it's 30 lines of code, and that includes my extra stuff. It's 20 lines of code really that allows you to access all the data within it. And regardless of how that LOV is defined, LOV definition, you just pass it to Apex exec open query context. It's absolutely magical.
Yes, exactly.
And so just really briefly, I came across my favorite comic that is related to this in some sense. So I'm going to show my little comic strip here. It's the first few times Einstein imagined flying alongside a beam of light, he didn't have any particular insights, and that's it. Oh, I'm so fast. And I feel that's the way it was when I started looking at this item plugin. I didn't have any particular insights into it except for thinking that, well, it's probably going to be hard. But I just jumped in and I just started. I started looking at the help a little bit and kind of following my nose along, and I came up with something. Well, I don't want to compare myself to Einstein. Let me stop there, right? But I came up with something that somebody else did, which is this crazy little function that's really magic. This www-flow API get static value. It's a little piece of magic.
It is actually, and it's a good way how you discovered it is you started by implementing like the render function, and then you noticed that you need to access the data. What do you have? You have the parameters of the render function that you can use, and you took a look at the documentation. You started by taking a look at the first one, T item, what it has. Okay, let's look for the keyword LOV. Let's output the inside of each of those parameters, and then it's the way you go through your implementation and looking for a good solution. So yes.
Yeah. So definitely fun, definitely a little bit of magic, and I hope somebody gets something out of it. So Marwa, that's it. People have wasted a perfectly good 10 minutes. Hey, Rich, missed you too. Yeah, I turns out I had COVID all week anyway, so I wouldn't have ended up, well, maybe I wouldn't have gotten COVID if I had gone to K-Scope, but anyway, I had COVID this past week,
Yeah.
and I wasn't going to K-Scope anyway, but yeah, I missed seeing everybody at K-Scope. I hear it was a great time. Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell people about one more thing, Marwa. For Kscope, we introduced a new feature in apexia.world. I'll go ahead and share my screen again, and folks can see apexia.world. If you haven't been there before, it's our little trading card game. But you can create your own trading card by clicking Apexify Me. So if you haven't done it, I encourage you to go out to apexia.world, and you can create your own little trading card. You can choose whether you're a hero or a villain.
Or a
You
villain.
can, yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to try it. Really.
will you be a hero or will you be a villain?
I still don't know. I don't know. Maybe both.
All right. All right. So it's apexia.world and Apexify Me. All right. So I guess that's really it. That's all we have for today. Do all the things. Smash the like button. Subscribe. However you get your podcasts. No, that's not really a podcast. Whatever people say. All those things. Send your mom a letter. Tell her about the show. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.